Good evening, everyone. How you doing tonight? Welcome to the North Carolina Cryptid&Paranormal Project. My name is Tom, and I'm the host of this channel. And I have some great news. We just hit 1,000 subscribers this evening, about 20 minutes ago, and I'm very grateful for everybody. We're actually going to be doing a live giveaway show in 2 weeks from now on Monday night, because next week, Monday night, I won't be doing a interview. I'm actually going to be doing West Coast Bigfoot Project with Shane, and I'll be doing his on Tuesday, so I'll be over there. So I won't be doing a show next Monday, but the Monday after that, I'll be doing a live giveaway show to show my appreciation to all the subscribers who gave their time to subscribe to this channel and, come hang out. We'll be having some giveaways, some prizes, and I'm going to working on getting some surprise guests, some big name, people in the community to do the show. So hopefully that they say yes, and they, whatever it takes. So I'll give you all some great stuff in 2 weeks. But tonight we have Midwest Night Watchers and Chiro Sounds. Sadly, they had a bad storm come through their town last night. And hey, Robin, they had a bad storm come through their town last night, and their internet shot. And we tried to do it over the phone. We tried to do it with the StreamYard, but it kept cutting out. So actually, we're doing it on the phone with audio. So there's not going to be any video. So you're not going to be able to see these awesome people tonight. But you'll be able to hear them and see what they have to say. So without further ado, I am bringing them back on. And here they are. Hey, guys.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Can you guys hear them on the audience? I know there's like a 30-second delay, but I just want to make sure my chat can hear you guys, because I'm putting my speaker like right next to my phone, and I'll be talking near it. I raised my volume up, so you guys tell us who you are, and let's go from there.
All right, we're Gerald and Jane Fountain, and we started Midwest Night Watchers, and we have YouTube and Facebook pages, and that's just how we all started, from the backyard, with fire pits and just enjoying the night sky. And we started seeing some unusual activity, and at least Jane saw it at first, unusual stuff in the sky. And then we started buying video cameras and started taping and uploading them to our YouTube, just so family and friends can see it. And being in everybody's chats and stuff, we started becoming friends with everybody, and we thought, what, this is fun. We like this, and so we actually started doing live interviews with people that we knew in the chats, and from being friends with other hosts, and that's where we are today.
That's pretty awesome. So you've actually seen activity like, UFOs, flying saucers, orbs, all that, strangeness in the sky. And originally that's kind of what got you into this topic, right? Seeing all that.
Right. Yeah. Once I started seeing the movement and getting our night vision binoculars and seeing things, we ended up getting the psionics camera and started filming. And we saw something that almost looked like possibly a mothership. That's the very first video that's on our channel. It just seems like the last 4 years, the activity is just increasing, and we're seeing more and more stuff up in the sky and orbs in the backfield.
That's pretty intense. I saw something last summer. I don't really tell much people about it, because I always wonder if I was like half hallucinating, but I actually saw something. I went out like late at night because I had one of my dogs was acting up. It was like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I went out, took the dog out, went outside. I looked out to the left sky, and it looked like a shooting star, but it went so fast it could kind of just glaze from one side of the sky to the other. And there was no tail, like a shooting star has a tail. This was just a light. It went from one side to the other, and it zipped across the sky. And I was like, kind of shake my head and make sure I wasn't hallucinating. But what I saw was real, and it blew me away. And North Carolina's pretty. It has a lot of high strangeness. You got Brown Mountain. The Brown Mountain Lights out there. There's a couple military bases out by Wilmington and Fort Bragg, and who knows what kind of maybe TR-3B ships they had and they were testing that night. Who knows,
Right.
Yeah. Hey, Robin, Duke. Welcome, Duke. Robin, everybody else, after this show is over, go on to Duke's channel on World Bigfoot Radio. He's going to have a surprise for everybody as well. You can tell him in the chat, Duke. But yeah, you guys have been doing some cool stuff. I know I've seen Gerald on Nighthawk doing High Strangeness Saturday morning brew, and some of the stuff you're talking about kind of blows my mind away. If you want to get into that, that'd be awesome.
All right. Well, recently we've been talking about the flat Earth maps that we came across, and it shows our known map, which would be North America, Asia, the continents that we normally see on our regular globe that we grew up in school with. But then this map has an ice wall around that, if you can picture the map flat.
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, you have, Pleiades and Venus and Pluto and all kinds of other, what they're saying is islands. But Dennis Carroll brought up the fact that maybe those aren't really continents or islands. Maybe those are a map of people's dimensions, right, or other worlds' dimensions that could be out there that's in reach with us.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense because, the interpretations of ancient maps, if you don't know how to describe it, it might just look like a continent, but it possibly could very well just be the dimension, but they don't know how to put that old, antique, ancient, documentation from paper as to like we have computer now. You could make a graph it on a computer perfectly now, but they didn't have that back then. So whatever they had all they had to work with, and that's what they made it look like, and that was their interpretation of it. So that's pretty spot on. That makes a lot of sense, Gerald, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so if you can imagine seeing us taking a flight from the U.S. to the UK, how long that takes us. Well, if you picture that those are actually dimensions and they're able to use dimensional travel, whether it's portals or stargates or however they do it, they could be here instantly from one to the other.
Yeah, absolutely. They can, like that one portal, go from one dimension to the other without even trying, just to get in that way. That makes a lot of sense how they can just travel that way. It's all, like you said, traveling from state to state. And in our terms, that's how we would look at it, but they're just going from one portal to the next, and it's got a different name. So,
yeah. And then if you figure that we do probably really do have extraterrestrials that do visit, because obviously we see stuff in the sky that we can't explain. But then you have the ETs or the ones that are here on Earth all the time that never left. They have probably colonies here, if you want to go into inner Earth or hollow Earth or whatever, however you want to describe it, because there's always accounts of, beings down in these caves. As explorers go down further and further, they see all kinds of weird and high strangeness.
Yeah, and I know you guys mentioned also, like, a lot of these movies and shows, like on Sci-Fi, or some of these movies, like some of these Marvel movies, like if you kind of do like a soft disclosure, or almost like a the interpretation of putting out truth in a way to enlighten us but not give us the full facts. I don't know if you guys saw the latest Black Panther movie, Wakanda Forever, but the technology that they actually go into Atlantis, and they get all that technology from Atlantis, where they're getting their stuff from, and the other beings are from Atlantis. And they're talking about all kinds of just technologies out of this world that we don't understand, but they have it, and they use it to their advantage. So it makes you wonder.
Yeah, because even in the movies, we realize it's all computer generated. Mm-hmm. But if you take it for a soft disclosure, like we've been talking, what do we have? Are they able to cloak themselves? Are they able to come in from dimensional travel from one place to another? You can have people out in your backyard at any time, they could just come here. And not only that, can they manipulate time and space and come to you at any time? Mm-hmm. They could have a predestination and just ready to pop in at any time.
Oh, exactly. And like I said, they do they call it predictive programming. Well, they'll show something in a movie, and it's something that they've probably done 20 years ago, but they're putting it out now in movies to kind of break us, desensitize us into it. So when things like that actually start happening, there's no mass outbreak or mass panic for the population.
Well, some of the movies if you look at their powers that they have, we only have like what 5 or 10% of our brains.
Yeah.
So what's the other 90%? Are we able to do some of these powers? Open up a portal in front of us, walk through walls, do the jump rooms. It just really makes you wonder.
Oh yeah, jump rooms. I mean, you mentioned like the med beds they have, or vibrational healing that
Right.
we don't even comprehend, but it's possible, and they're probably using it to this day, but we don't know about it because it's been hidden from us. But they've been using it for 40 plus years. So
right, and they're trying to dumb us down. They don't want us to get higher vibration and frequency, and to have our intuitive gifts to open up.
Yep. That's why they put the fluoride in the water. They put stuff in the food, and they do all that to keep your pineal gland from decalcifying, because it keeps you from seeing seeing that third eyesight.
Exactly.
And that's a whole process in itself to decalcify or whatever they're using on your pineal gland. There actually is a process that you can go through yourself and cleansing your body and opening that back up, and then you can start working on your higher consciousness and all your gifts that you truly are meant to be able to use.
Right. I've watched a video, a lecture given by, I can't think of the lady's name, but it was like a 15-minute lecture a lady gave, and she was talking about detoxifying your body just from the metals, the pollution, and the radiation from today's pollution. And she said pretty much take a bath with a pound of baking soda and about a pound of real sea salt. And just doing that alone will clean your whole body and detoxify you and kind of clear everything up. And actually, it'll probably rid you of some of your sicknesses too, some of your inflammations, because inflammation is a long key of stuff from radiation, from aluminum coming from the sky, from the jets putting that stuff in the air and all that. So
right. It just not to get political, but back when all this pandemic, if you want to call it, but back in 2020, when some of the leaders were getting sick, and you could tell that they were run down, they didn't look healthy anymore. They actually looked like they were aging overnight every time you saw them. But then when they went in for treatment, they came out and they looked like, man, they're like 10 years younger, 20 years younger, and they got full of energy and everything. So it makes me wonder if they really do have the med beds, but it's just not available to us.
Well, I think it's a little more than med beds. I think they've probably done some cloning and stuff, and they've had their clones doing, the hard work while they're sitting underground in a bunker somewhere, and their clones are doing all the face work, all the duties that you see on TV and that kind of stuff. Makes sense to me. I mean, the technology they've been doing for the years with cloning and all that. I mean, they've mastered it. They're now just putting it out. What they're talking about, like if you remember, they're talking about the the ear on the rat or the mouse and making an ear from that and putting on a person like that. That's kind of just to shut us up, to make us think that they're doing something and getting. But I mean, they've been doing this for years, and big. Duke's talking about the big AD word, and I don't want to mention it too much, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know you were mentioning like population control, but like I think someone mentioned it on Saturday. You can't kill off all the population, because once you do that, you're taking away the food source for these people. What they take from the humans. I mean, they're not going to have it, so they have to keep the humans alive. So what better way to do than make clones so they can keep taking from the clones and just keep mass producing more clones off the clones, so they have a food source? Because without a food source, they'll die off and they got nothing else. So what do they got to work with?
Right, and that brings up the Georgia Guidestones, where it gave the formula and the idea of the depopulation by a certain time, and then talking about depopulation, the big number one program they got pushing right now is climate change, and the green program. Well, it's been a documented fact that we need the carbon dioxide, for the plants and the trees. That's what they use to turn into oxygen. Well, if we keep lowering that, that emissions, and if you get rid of people, we don't create that either, then eventually the plant life and animal life is going to die on this planet if you go too low.
Yeah, all the vegetation, you kill off the vegetation, and with the carbon, without enough carbon deposit, yeah, you're not going to have that food for us as well. So we got to eat too. And the livestock won't have nothing to eat. I mean, you have to have some kind of source, or the ecosystem's going to go to shit all the way from the bottom to the top.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
We can survive for a long time in a lower oxygen. That's been proven that we can convert the CO2, or live in a higher CO2 atmosphere. But once the plant life goes, the trees and stuff, that's our main producer of the whole world for oxygen.
Yeah, and if you drive down any road right now, any country road, because I'm in North Carolina in the Charlotte side, and I mean, you go 20 miles one way or 20, all you see is trees getting ripped out. They're putting up developments. They're putting up houses. They're putting up shopping malls. All they're doing is they're ripping out the forest, and they're putting up buildings, which obviously I'm sure that these builders, the developers, are making them put up trees in return of the trees they're cutting down, because it's just like a law. You have, like, for every trees you cut down, you got to put so many trees back and plant them. But the problem is they're taking so many trees out, they're not putting enough back to regenerate that atmospheric filter.
Yeah, you cut down a full mature tree that produces X amount of oxygen, or goes through the process, and you put saplings in their place. How many years before it catches up to produce the same of what they cut down?
I'm also noticing how many trees are dying the last few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm pretty much blaming that on the chemtrails.
I was thinking the same thing, because, I mean, you see any given day you look up in the sky, and people are going to say, oh, it's this, it's that. But, I mean, you could tell. You see an X, you look up in the sky, you see an X. You look over to the right, you see a cross. You look over to the left, you see, almost like a rectangular box. And they don't dissipate. They stay there for a good hour or two. And, I mean, that's that pure, aluminum-based chemtrail stuff that you don't want to be breathing in. I mean, they're talking about, acid rain being so bad that they don't want you to be in rain when it rains because of the pollution from it.
Yeah, we've noticed that. Just the way our vehicles look after a rainstorm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, getting back to the clones, we talked, I believe it was last Saturday, or I believe it was on William's show, the Morning Brew. We were talking about clones and cattle mutilation 2 weeks before that even. That I came up with the idea that maybe they're doing the experiments, to try to get DNA out of living creatures, and including the human mutilations, and drawing blood so that they can figure out a way to put them into their clones. Since we're going to AI and all this stuff, maybe they're trying to make a hybrid between an AI clone and a human being, so that they can keep mass producing these, so if something would happen to the human race, they have a backup.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that also.
I mean, you've seen these videos going around, surfacing around the internet, where they show looks like a sheep with a human face. I mean, or a cow with a human face, or a fish with a human face, or, I mean, all these things. These are chimera that they're making in these labs, and whatever happened, or they're letting them loose, or they're getting out, or they're just letting them out and seeing how people react to them. But it's sad, because they're doing that, and all it's doing is messing up. Messing up on their own end, because they're letting that idea through that it's actually happening. They're giving us the plot to know that they're actually going through with these experiments. I mean, these things they're not deformations. These are straight up human faces that are growing on like a sheep or a cow.
Well, if you look at World War II, Hitler was doing exactly that. He was trying to clone humans and animals.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if he was pretty close to do that back then, we definitely have mastered it now.
Yeah, well, Dr. Mangala too. I mean, I'm pretty sure Mangala, he came over here from Project Paperclip, and he started experimenting on working on stuff with the CIA and all that, and they were doing stuff over here with all that. And then you got the Montauk base in New York. Al Santariga knows about that, Plum Island. I mean, that's they call it a CDC, center for science and study, but it was really, they're making all kinds of chimera down in those dumbs.
Yeah, and what's being loose or accidentally getting let loose?
You saw that, you've heard what 10, 15, maybe even 20 years ago they called it the Montauk Monster. It looked like an owl, cross between an owl, possum, and something else that was on the beach that washed up, and they all said it came from Plum Island.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, that there's been, creatures, or however you want to describe them, being washed up on beaches on the next, across the bay or whatever from Plum Island. I mean, who knows what they're experimenting with? They probably even got human subjects that, who knows what these trials do and what they're trying to come up with.
Yeah, exactly. And guys in the chat, I'm sorry, I'm not putting out. I'm doing double work duty with working on my phone with my guests because we had their internet connection. So I'm not going to be posting every single comment like I usually do, but I will put your comments up. I'm just going to be doing them as I can do them because I'm working 2 laptops right now with my guests, making sure their connection is good on my phone, and hopefully they can stay on. But an owl bear, Duke's a baby owl bear. I mean, how do you get an owl bear?
An owl bear.
Oh, the Russians weren't the Russians experimenting with primates and humans back in? They had that video of the primate. It was a chimpanzee that was like half human, and I mean, it was standing up, walking, smoking cigarettes, and all that. I mean, it looked like a human with a chimpanzee face, and it had a little bit more muscle mass to it.
Well, a story I heard when I was in high school back in the 70s, that what got born was half lamb and half human.
Mm-hmm.
And it died on the table shortly after birth.
Really? That's pretty intense.
You start talking about these hybrids, or however you want to describe them, just look back to ancient Egypt with all the hieroglyphs with, bird heads and dog heads on human bodies, or tails, off of the humans. You have the tigers and all that stuff. Well, I was talking to somebody not very long ago, Native American, and he said they have those beings in their culture too, that would come from the skies or the heavens, and they were considered gods or extraterrestrials, and some of them had heads of birds and heads of dogs and lions and all kinds of stuff. So it makes you wonder, were these beings real? And, we make up mythological stories about them, but maybe they were actually beings at one time that were like that.
Exactly what you're saying. I agree 100%. And I'm also going to add to the Greek gods and the Greek stuff. I mean, they had the Cyclops, they had the Minotaur, they had, I'm trying to think of the name. It was the old hag witch with all the Medusa. The Medusa. You looked at the Medusa, you got turned to stone. That technology that they did. I mean, that you had that, and the gods, Poseidon and Zeus, and all that, and the Titans. I mean, they were probably godly beings, demigods that had powers to do that, and they were probably making hybrids back then too.
And not to get religious or anything, but we watch a lot of church programs and stuff online, just like everybody else did since 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I came across this guy, this preacher, that was talking about fallen angels, Nephilim. And if you take that as face value, that they're fallen angels and they're already supernatural, or however you want to describe fallen angels, that it says in the Bible they came to mate with the earth women, or humans. But do you think that's the only thing they ever mated with, since they're supernatural? I mean, they would have the ability probably to mate with any species on Earth if they wanted to. And he kind of went through a history of how, okay, this is how you get maybe vampires, how you get Mothman, how you get all these other cryptids that we have because of the Nephilim mating with every species that they could on Earth.
Yeah, very true. And I mean, obviously, Nephilim fallen angels, fallen ones. But if you think about it, the first fallen angel, the first recorded Nephilim was Lucifer, was the original Satan, Lucifer. He brought down a third of the angels with him. The fallen angels, demons are fallen angels too, so you got to consider that too. And they're probably, getting with certain things, deceiving people, making certain breeds of human beings back then as well. And the interpretation, then you get the Nephilim and all that. But I mean, it all comes down from demonic stuff if you think about it.
Right. And who knows? I'm not saying it necessarily mated with animals on Earth, but I mean, it could have been other entities, that were demons or whatever that they were in cahoots with, and I mean, it could be extraterrestrials, whether it's reptilians or, some of the other bird avian species of reptilians and all that stuff. Maybe they mated with them or created stuff from them.
We just don't know how many hybrids could be out there.
Exactly. And then you got all the races of aliens. But here's the big kicker. If you remember, I mean, I've mentioned this a lot of times when William does his broadcast on Saturday mornings, because usually I'm at the gym on Saturday and I'm just, listening to the chatter, throwing a couple sentences in here and there on the chat. But I've always said this, I've said this a bunch of times before, but if you go back into history, this is stuff that actually happened. L. Ron Hubbard, which was the founder of Scientology, and Jack Parsons, JPL, the founder of NASA, them two got together in the desert. They conjured up something, and I typed it wrong. I said Pan, but it was actually Lamb. They conjured up a being called Lamb, and it was a demonic being. They conjured it up, and guess what it looked like? It looked like one of your pretty much predictable shape of an alien gray head. It had the oval head, the light bulb head with the two dark eyes, and his name is Lamb. And this is something they conjured up in the desert back in, the 1900s, 1915, 20-ish. I don't have the exact date. We did a show on it with the Three Beards, but I can't remember the date. But that being said, guess what happened in 1947 in that same area? Roswell.
Yeah, Roswell.
So an alien ship crashed right in that same area in the desert where they conjured this being. So what if, I mean, I don't, I'm not claiming to be an expert or anything like that, doctorate, professor knowledge with, this kind of information. But what if the aliens are demons? What if they're deceiving people? I mean, I've heard this before, and that's why I'm asking, what if? I can't verify it, but I mean, it makes a good point, a good argument state.
All right, I've heard that theory also. But then if you look at the facts, everywhere there's good, there's also bad. So if there is bad out there, there's got to be good that is on the God side.
Yeah, the good factions, and they apparently there's good factions of aliens that want to give us technology, that want to help us heal, they want to help us, restore the planet Earth back to its better habitat state. And then you have the ones, the evil reptilians, the beings that want to just be the overlords, rule everything, wipe everybody out, and be the supreme leaders of everything and take it over. So, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
okay.
We're here.
Just making sure. Okay. So we're at about 30 minutes. We got another 30 minutes to chat about some stuff. What do you guys want to talk about now? We kind of went up and down a rabbit hole with, what's about, have you guys had any Sasquatch or Dogman encounters?
Well, possibly Sasquatch, but I've never seen one. We've been having activity the last couple years, and I have suspicion that they're out in my barn once in a while because my goats definitely let me know. Because if goats don't want their food and they're just staring in the far corner of the barn, something's going on. And I have lights flickering once in a while out there. I do feel like I'm being watched, and I've been talking to Robin McCrae, and she has verified that we have a clan that likes to make some noises on the roof once in a while, or
window peekers.
Oh, yes, wow. But I have not seen them yet, but I do feel their presence, and just have a suspicion that they've been around for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I've had that suspicion when I first moved to this property in Charlotte, and it's the typical, suburban area, the offskirts of uptown Charlotte, which I'm not in the city. I'm in city limits in the suburban area with a greenway trail that connects all of Charlotte that's about a half a mile from my house, but I got a lot of woodlands, and then it connects to a greenway trail along a creek. And I started seeing deer on my property, and I started hunting deer, and I had an encounter here with something I couldn't explain. And once I got in touch with Robin, she verified it for me. I mean, she pretty much she described my property to a T, like she was, like pretty much she described my property as if she was flying over my house with a drone, and she doesn't know where I live. So I mean, she described areas that nobody would know unless they're on my property, like looking down on it, like they have a drone on it, or if they're actually on it physically. And when she did that, I pretty much was blown away, and I was like, I knew she was, the real deal. Tell me like it is. Tell me the truth. Not some people that will say, but she's the real deal. And yeah, she just, pretty much verified the clan on my property, and I'm grateful for that. And thank you, Al, for I shouldn't be saying certain names more than once, and claim the blood of Jesus over my family for protection and any kind of unclean or any evil entities to keep them from me and harming me and my family. So I'll say that now out loud.
Amen.
Amen.
To that, because when you start talking about certain things, you can be inviting anything in. No, you don't realize it, but you can be inviting anything into your life or into your home without even realizing it. Because when you talk of something, anything, you're giving that you're giving that entity energy, and by giving it energy, it can manifest.
Right. Yeah, I believe that you have to do cleansing and clearing and do protection over your property on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another thing. People have sightings with certain things that they can't describe, but they say it has attributes of like maybe a Bigfoot or a dog man, but say it has red eyes, or it taps on their house, and then the next thing they know, it's in their bedroom looking at them. I mean, that could possibly be something demonic disguising itself as a squatch or a dog man, just to get their trust, win their trust over.
Right.
Yeah, we talked about that with Robin too, and she's had the same exact thing. She says you got to be careful, about. You think it is your friendly clan or your family you're getting to know, and they'll come up to you, but being cloaked, trying to say, okay, I'm so and so, assuming that they've already told you what their real names are in their language, but it'll be another entity pretending to be that family member of that clan, and they try to get your trust, But you got to read your energy, like Robin says, and be mindful of what, does it feel different? Does it feel the same? Do you have a weirder feeling with this person or this thing that's trying to come into your presence?
She said she'd pick up the wrong energy, and she would say, "You're not so-and-so."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, she can pick up on that because she has that ability, which is awesome to have it, to know that you're like, if you're familiar with something and you pick up something that's off, it's not what you're normally dealing with, so you know how to confront that and like, get out of here, rebuke it, pretty much rebuke anything that's not clean.
Right. Yeah, and I go by my dog a lot of times also about out in the backyard. She's got certain barks for squirrels and rabbits and coons and things like that. And then she got used to the deer, but there is times that she has a certain bark, like she is scared, she's concerned, her hair is up from the neck all the way down to her tail, and she's barking out of that field. And I go with my energy, and I do get uncomfortable to the point I bring her inside, and I go inside.
Mm-hmm. I understand that, and like I said, I know what you're talking about, because my dogs, they'll bark at anything out in the woods, and I can always tell if there's something going on that's not an animal. It's not what usually comes in around my area, or like just a basic critter. They get really skittish, and I have a fence line that goes behind my house, and then behind the fence is woods. Well, when they won't even go to the fence line and they stay by the back door, they're like, you can see them like their tails shaking a little bit, and they're on high alert, like on edge. I can tell there's something going on in the woods that they don't want to have nothing to do with, and I'm just like, all right, let's go inside then. And I don't want to be one dog shy tonight, so I bring them both in and get them protected and get them inside. So yeah.
Yeah, you can go by their barks. It's just a certain bark that she is barking at something that she's never seen before, and she's really spooked.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's normally too, like sometimes I have the weird owl hoots, and I call it the 800-pound owl hoots because I can tell the difference between a regular owl and then the other owls that I call the 800-pound owl hoots. Like it's almost like an owl, between an owl, a monkey, and a parrot combined, all three going back and forth with it, with like changing tone at this as it's doing it with the call. Like it starts off like with a "who cooks for you," and then it turns into a "ooh ooh," and then it sounds like a parrot, like "oh oh," and I'm like, how the hell does it change three different tones like that? I'm like, that's not a normal creature in the woods. It's something that I don't want to get too close to, but I know what it is. I don't want to give it away, but I don't want to get God forbid it's something that could be harmful. I don't want to get attacked either. I know Robin says they respect me on my property for I give I put a little couple things out here and there, like once in a while. I'll do like a gifting of like seashells or like little kids toys that they don't play with anymore. Once in a while, maybe some fruit that's about to expire, throw it in the woods. And I've actually been gifted a pair of sunglasses that were on a stump. They were like they were kind of like the blue typical classic the Ray-Ban style shades like that, but they were cheap plastic blue ones, and they were just sitting on a stump right behind my fence line. And there was nobody, nobody goes in those woods at all. And I walk that trail, and I trek it at least once a week, and I kind of look for new strange activity, and I didn't see anything for about a week and a half. And then the one day I went back there, those blue sunglasses just sitting on a tree stump, like right 10 foot from my fence. So I knew it was a gift for me.
Can you imagine Sasquatch putting on sunglasses?
Yeah, they probably break them in half because their heads are so wide.
Well, last summer we had a really bad time with coyotes in the area, and it sounded like we had a few different packs. And we've been here for 18 years, so I pretty much know how the coyotes sound. We have boxes. I know how they yip and bark. But last summer I was hearing the coyotes start, but then off in the distance you hear one by itself, and it almost sounds like a wolf howling. It doesn't really sound like the coyotes, but then I was hearing other shows on YouTube that say that the Sasquatch do mimic coyotes, that they'll make a sound to scare off the pack away from a certain area where they're at.
Yeah, or to run them off, or to kind of confuse them away. I've heard that too. Or I've even heard coyotes, sometimes even packs of coyotes will actually run with the Sasquatch, and they'll use the coyotes for like retrieving them food and like being like almost like their pet dog in a way.
Wow.
I've heard that too. Them using coyotes as like almost like as a loyal like a partnership in a way.
Yeah, that's interesting. You've heard stories that sometimes Dogman and Sasquatch are friendly with each other also.
Yeah. I mean, if you're out in the wilderness with your enemy and you both got to eat, sometimes you got to just kind of put your differences aside and work together to get that meal every now and then. I mean, it makes sense to me. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do for survival, because when it comes to survival, you got to live. You don't want, you probably rather see your enemy dwindle off, but at the same time, if you work together, your chances on surviving are always going to be better off. So, I mean, sometimes it makes sense for them to work together, even though they're arch enemies out there in the woods, because they're constantly competing against each other for food. So,
right, yeah.
And territory. I mean, if you noticed the deer in your area, like the herds dwindled down at all, because I've heard that too.
We've had a few deer here, and it doesn't seem like I'm seeing as many as normal, because even on my way home from work, I'll usually see deer in the same spots, and it could be up, 15, 20 deer, located in a field feeding, but here lately it's only been like 5 or 6 maybe.
And last winter we were feeding some, and I counted about 6 at the most. Well, these last few months I haven't seen any, unless they moved on into the forest area. It does make me wonder if they're thinning down.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a cross between the predators like the coyote, because I heard coyotes going off last night. Because if you live in an area by me, there's always sirens, and there's like a main road that kind of connects alongside both trails of the woods and the creek. And there's a siren, like either a fire truck, ambulance, or police. They'll be going down, and that siren echoes through the woods. And whenever at night you hear that siren, it'll sound off the coyotes, the pack of coyotes, and they'll just go crazy for about 5 minutes. We hear them yipping and yapping. And I wonder if the coyotes are going after the deer more because, they're being scavengers because the deers, they might not be producing like they used to because they're just getting wiped out between getting hunted by humans and whatever else. The deer's population is getting more scarce to me. But I've noticed that too.
Yep. And speaking of whatever else, I don't know if you catched any of our other shows where we've been getting a little bit of paranormal activity as we're doing our, excuse me, as our live shows are going on.
You said paranormal?
Yeah, we started on our channel, Midwest Night Watchers, that we stream on Williams' platform also, but we've been doing our own shows. And the first few shows, we didn't notice anything, but it kind of started on one of Williams' show in the morning that they kind of debunked. But that night we had Steve Stockton on, and we were talking about fairies and fays. And when he went off, so we can finish up our show, I noticed this white thing that was above Carol's head and zipped down behind him.
Really?
So then we ended up rewatching it, and we can't explain it at all. We got on Texas Front Porch Show the next night. We were talking about it again. Tex got on there and found the timestamp, and they broke it down. They slowed it down. This thing couldn't have been a cobweb or a hair. It just shoots out of the gun picture behind us and then zipped up and zipped down behind Carol. And then the next time we had a show, we're talking about this situation again. We're showing little clips of this phenomena, and all of a sudden somebody in chat says, "Hey, I just saw something go up by the clock." And we just went, "Oh no, again." So my sister was on there also, and she got a small video clip and sent it to me. We watched the replay and broke that one down. It does not look like hair and not even an orb. It changes shape. It has its own consciousness, and we don't feel anything bad or spooky downstairs. But we can't really explain what's been going on. We don't have night vision cameras. This is off of our Samsung tablets,
right? So
it can't be a bug or anything. You'd see the bug on the camera, not a light phenomena.
That's pretty interesting. I've had two guests. One of my guests was Lynn Monet, and when I had her on, we were talking about some spiritual stuff, and I think they were talking about devil dogs, demon dogs, and all of a sudden, like 20 minutes, like right on the time frame, you heard an EVP. I didn't hear it, and she didn't hear it, but everybody in the audience heard it, and it was like a growl almost.
I remember that show.
It was right when she mentioned the demon dog, the devil dog thing, and you heard like I won't mention it again, but you heard a growl or a hiss, and it was because we were talking about that. Like I said, almost we were giving it maybe energy to manifest, to show itself or whatever. But I didn't hear nothing, which is crazy. But she didn't hear it, and I even went back to the next day to put my headphones on to listen, and it blew my mind away, like because after we mentioned it. But also, Darkwoods Hates Buddy in the chat. When I had him on, he had all kinds of blue orbs behind him because he was filming live from his location at night, and you just kept seeing a bunch of wild orbs going off behind him. I don't know if they were Dogman manifesting or what, but something was going on with him. If you remember, Steve, that night I interviewed you. You had all kinds of orbs, like blue lights going on right behind you. It was wild.
Yeah, Jessica Jones, the Cryptid hunter, she's been having a few orbs show up, and one kind of looked like a little feather, similar to ours. We're kind of calling them woo feathers because we don't really know what they are. They're really not big feathers. But we can't debunk. Some of the things we've debunked, but some of this we're not able to debunk.
No, you can't. You can't. I had I've actually had a guest. Her name was Doreen Pion, and she has all these orbs and stuff, and she catches a lot of ghostly, spiritual stuff. And she has all these orbs, and some of these orbs they change. Like, well, she has pictures. She has straight up pictures. She shared them with me, and I think I shared them when I did the interview with her. I shared a bunch of pictures and orbs, and these orbs have faces on them, and a lot of them are like hectagon or octagon shaped, and some have like faces that look like a Sasquatch.
Oh, wow.
Alien. I mean, you have to go back and check it out. It was Doreen Pion, maybe about 2 months ago when I interviewed her, but some of the stuff that she sent me that put up during the interview, I mean, they were mind blowing orbs. I mean, how is she catching this stuff? But she was just using a regular camera, nothing special, and just taking pictures of her house where she saw stuff that was just random stuff that was catching her attention, her focus. And then she caught it on camera, and then she shared it, and she actually has a portfolio of it. But I think I posted them in the group too, in the North Carolina Cryptid group. But also, the best way to do it is just go find her interview, and you'll see the stuff that I put up. I mean, it's crazy what she caught, these orbs. I mean, I don't know how an orb changes from has like almost like a rainbowish color, and then all of a sudden it has a face on it, which I can't explain that. Can you?
No, we've got a lot of film or footages on our channel on orbs, and they're off of our ATM binoculars. Well, that has IR on it. That sure does help looking at the orbs. I've never seen one with my naked eye, but once again, with these situations downstairs, we're using our tablet. It's not IR. It's not night vision, and you would see if it was a fly. So it's really hard to explain some of this.
Yeah.
It is. Just like when you were talking, we'll mention the subject, and all of a sudden people will say, "Hey, I just saw that come right behind you." It seems like it's almost the same time every night when we're having our broadcast, and people will start saying, that picture of the pistol hanging on the wall will start getting glitchy and start pixelating, and all of a sudden this entity, or whatever you want to call it, orb or woo feather, was what we call it, comes right out of that spot that's glitchy in that picture.
So that's what we're kind of wondering, if almost every time I'm seeing some of this. Well, for example, last Wednesday we do a 12:30 a.m. like Wednesday night, Thursday morning show, and once again the people were seeing stuff on the live show. And we have a comment on there from a person that gave us 5 different timestamps, exact timestamps with the seconds and everything. So there is 5 more that happened last Wednesday that we haven't broke down into little short videos yet. But I
don't know. So if anybody wants to see them, they can go to our channel, Midwest Night Watchers on YouTube, and they can look up those videos and see them just exactly how we saw them for the first time, rewatching the play of them.
That's very interesting. I'll have to go back and check it myself. And thanks for all the new subscribers. Hey, Aussie Sue, Judy Wheeler, Dark Woods, Nana, everyone, Al Santoriga. I mean, everyone's been here since I started this.
Hi, everyone.
Everyone is great. I mean, Duke is doing a presentation afterwards at 9. So everybody go over to World Bigfoot Radio, and the party's still going to go on tonight. So just because I'm over at 9 doesn't mean the party's over. Everyone's going to go over to the after party over on Duke's channel and hang out over there and see what kind of cool stuff he's going to be showing the world, because he is an innovator. Duke is great. I've known Duke for quite some time. I think I started listening to Duke back in like 2015, right after I had my because I had my first encounter in 1998 in Canada, bear hunting. And I want to write into Steve Isdall because the hunting camp that I went to in Canada, I want to write into Steve Isdall because I know he's really famous with the How to Hunt doc, and he's a Canadian, and I wonder if he knows the people that own that hunting lodge that I went to in Canada. I was going to ask, just reach out to him and ask him. I'm not really crazy about sharing my story with him because, I mean, he gets like 100 stories emailed to him a day, and he probably has to go, vet all these emails on. I don't want to waste his time, but I just wanted to reach out to him to find out if he knows that the owner of the cabin, I think his name was Terry something, but if he got any, because I'd like to know if that guy has any more people coming forward to say they had encounters on his hunting, after doing a hunt on his lodge. Because, I mean, that whole area is a hot spot, because I think after a while, after I kind of came to fact and to terms with what I encountered was real and what it really was, after hearing so many stories about, hunting and bear hunting and out in certain areas of Canada, I Googled that area by the Algonquin Park, and that whole area is a huge hotspot. I mean, it's a massive hotspot.
Yeah, that'd be worth investigating to see if anybody else has had the same kind of reports or incidents that you had, and be able to track that better.
Because he does that. He'll also do that too. Like, he will read a story and it'll say, like, if people ask questions, he'll say if anybody else has encountered anything in this area, write in, and if they write in, he'll read it off. He's pretty good at doing that for joining stories in certain areas or similar stories, which I give him credit for doing that. I mean, it's got to take a lot of work. I mean, I got a full-time. Some people, this is their full-time job, but I actually have a full-time job. A parent, husband, parent, all that, and then I got to do this on as like I wouldn't say a hobby, but I try to do it as something to kind of partake in, and I have very high interest in it. Something I've been very interested in since I was a kid. I mean, I was writing book reports on UFOs when I was in the third grade. My uncle took me to powwows when I was in third grade on native lands. He took me to see the movie Communion, which I was petrified to when the little blue men were taking Christopher Walken off his bed. I was like having nightmares the next day. But I love that stuff. I love those movies. I've always been into it, and that's just me.
Right. Yeah. Eventually, when I'm able to retire, which isn't too many years away, or I might be able to retire early, we'll probably do this full time. We'll probably keep our same time slots, just because there's so many people we like to watch and shows we want to be on, or would be during that time. But we'll be available more often for a guest spot, so on other people's shows, and we'll just keep ours rolling the way we have been.
Oh, absolutely. And every Saturday you're doing with William Nighthawk. And do you do Friday nights too?
He has Becoming Monsters, and that on Friday night, and he rotates it between the Red Rabbit Hole and Becoming Monsters, and then Saturday morning and Sunday morning we have the Morning Brew Show, which I'm on, try to be on every weekend. But right now, obviously, since I'm working, I can't be on the Friday night show as often as I like to be. Then our shows are on at 12:30 a.m., whether you want to say Wednesday night or early Thursday morning. And then Sundays at 6 p.m. is when we usually have our guests, and that's Central Time.
Now, do you do Piercing the Veil? Is that you? Is that you with Pierce? Is that your special?
That's us.
Okay, cool.
Wednesday night is Night Owl. We changed it to a Night Owl cafe.
Lounge.
I'm sorry,
Lounge. Yeah, we focus on the chat Wednesday night, Thursday morning, that show, and talk to them and ask questions, and then Sunday is pretty much when we have a guest.
Nice. Well, I wouldn't mind coming on your show sometimes. I don't have a whole lot of UFO stuff, but I said between the cryptid stuff I've encountered, and I've had this picture I've taken. This is weird because I was walking along the Greenway Trail, just minding my business, riding my bike, and it goes about 12 miles from one side to the other, and there's a creek along it, and there's just certain areas I feel like high strangeness activity. Something just, I get that vibe. So one day I'm riding down, and I just had that vibe where something was like getting my attention. So I stopped my mountain bike, got off it, and I looked up, and I just started taking some pictures. Now, where I didn't take pictures, there was a bunch of X's and tree breaks. Where I did take pictures, there was a tree, and Laura remembers this because she was mentioning it, because this one tree looks like, I swear to God, this tree looked like the tree from the Wizard of Oz with the nose on it that was throwing apples.
Wow!
It looked like a tree person. It had straight up had like a witch's nose, like a pointy witch's nose, and it just looked nasty. And then right behind the tree, there was a black, dark, hairy figure. And you could see it's like almost like it's like we're wearing a mask, and you could see gray. Like this part was gray, where its eyes are, but everything else was black. And some people say Dogman, some say Sasquatch. some people that are closed-minded, they'll say, "Oh, it's a blurry bush, blah blah blah." But when you know this stuff, you know, and I know what it was. It was something hairy, big, hairy, scary thing. Couldn't decipher which one it was, but it was something. But the thing is, it was just weird that it got my attention, and I just stopped because I picked up on it to stop and take a picture, and then I caught it on camera. But the weird thing was, I didn't notice it when I was looking at it. I noticed it when I got home and looked at my photo that I took on all the strangeness that I picked up on that day on that picture.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, we started off with UFOs, but we ventured off, and we have many interests. You know, whether it's supernatural, paranormal, cryptids, ghosts, conspiracy theories. We go and track down everything we can. We read everything, watch everything that piques our interest in those kind of realms, and so we're open to everything.
Anything that pierces the veil.
Yeah, you got to be open to everything. I mean, nowadays, because there's so much going on. And the way I see it, I mean, everything is connected. They're all intertwined with each other, with experiences, the cryptids, the UFO. I mean, it's all combined into one just big level of activity and energy. I mean, it makes sense to me. It's all energy based stuff. Whether you believe it or not, it's all just all these high energy strangeness, anomalies. Different factions. And
that's how they connect to us. We're an energy being. We have frequencies and all that stuff. So I mean, like you just said, everything's all connected. You just got to figure it out and how to become better and how to attune yourself to be able to sense these things and be aware of it.
And have an open mind and do your own research. And use your brain and use your own critical thinking to come to your own conclusion.
You said it perfectly. You just said, it's these strange. You got to tune your mind is the thing. You got to. It's like tuning a car up or like Al Carlito. What's up, buddy? They play guitar. You're tuning your guitar to play a certain way. You got to tune your body into picking up on certain frequencies and vibrations because you're like If you're an animal like a dog or a cat, they're seeing on the spectrum, they're seeing a whole different wavelength than we're seeing, but they can see it. Right. We can't. So when you would train and adjust your vibration and your frequency to see certain things on the spectrum that you normally can't, you're going to be open to so much more stuff, and you're going to be like wondering why you're seeing all this crazy shit,
Right.
Once you open up one thing, everything else starts showing up. You're going to see UFOs, orbs, Sasquatch. It's all connected, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, Al says it's a Sasquatch. Al knows his stuff. The Paisan, the Squatch Father, he's a mentor to me as well. I think he mentored everybody from the crew back in the day. From a couple of years ago, him and Brian, they gave us mentorship and information on things, and kind of enlightenment on certain topics, and kind of on how to do investigations and what to look for, little pointers here and there. Like when you're helping out the new guy, like we were like the new guy a couple of years ago, and we were getting the help from the veteran researchers, which I'm grateful for that. Not many people. A lot of people don't want to, I've heard it before, like stand guard. They want to hold guard and not let the new guy through or whatever, and give him any credence to it. But we're all coming along together, and you got to just let things fall and show the next guy, be nice to the next guy, show them the right way, and they'll do their flourish.
Right, I agree. This huge community that we're in, everybody is so supportive of each other, and it's been a wonderful family chat that's in everyone's chat.
Pardon my French, but you can't be a cock blocker in this community. You just can't.
I agree.
And coming out, I congratulated myself. I just reached 1,000 subscribers. So, y'all, it's 9:00. I want to thank you guys. Thank everybody in the chat. Duke's starting off his thing, so go over to World Bigfoot Radio and listen to Duke. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing my 1,000 subscriber prize giveaway show. And next Tuesday, I'll be on I'll be on West Coast Bigfoot Project with Shane. So I will see y'all, and you guys, thank you for coming on. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I had a great night with you too, and everybody have a great night.
And thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to hang up now. Y'all have a good night.
All right.
Okay, talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, everybody, thank you in the chat. I will talk to you. I will see you in 2 weeks. I'll actually see you next Tuesday on West Coast Bigfoot Project. So I'll see you then, and then Tuesday we'll have a special. So until then, I'm working on getting guests.